Making the headlines tonight, Cambodia welcomes the latest scheduled date for the ASEAN-US Summit, which is now to be held on the 12th to 13th of May 2022. Secretary of State Amjan Makara said that in recent years, the royal government has paved the way and provided new opportunities for women and girls with disabilities to fully benefit from the National Disability Strategic Plan. Rescuers search for dozens of people still missing in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province after floods and mudslides killed 443 people. And people around the world celebrated Easter in full swing after 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, but each country also has its own little traditions. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. My name is Dekanin. Cambodia welcomes the latest scheduled date for the ASEAN-US Summit, which is now to be held on the 12th to 13th of May 2022. This is the second special summit to be held since 2016 and the first face-to-face meeting between all ASEAN and US leaders since 2017. EAC News reporter Darshana Gochan has more details.
According to a press statement released on 16th April by the ASEAN Chair, Cambodia welcomes the upcoming ASEAN-US Summit in May, emphasizing that this meeting will reaffirm the joint commitment to maintain ASEAN centrality and unity through existing ASEAN-led mechanisms, as well as to foster mutual trust and confidence in maintaining peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. The two-day meeting will bring together ASEAN leaders and President Joe Biden to discuss the ways and means to enhance cooperation in a wide range of areas, including response to COVID-19 and global health security, climate change, sustainable development, maritime cooperation, human capital development, education and people-to-people contacts, as well as connectivity and economic engagement. ASEAN and US leaders will also exchange views on regional and international issues of common interest and concern. The press release further states, during this historic meeting, the leaders of ASEAN and the United States will chart the future direction of ASEAN-US relations and seek to further enhance strategic partnership for the mutual benefits of the peoples of ASEAN and the United States. On 14th January 2022, United States President Joe Biden sent an invitation to Prime Minister Hun Sen to attend the ASEAN-US Summit and stated that he looks forward to welcoming him to Washington in the near future. ASEAN-US Dialogue Partnership is currently 45 years old. The ASEAN-US Summit was originally scheduled to take place at the end of March, but was postponed due to busy and conflicting schedules between ASEAN and US leaders. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Secretary of State for the Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation and Secretary General of the Disability Action Council, Amjan Makara, has said that in recent years, the royal government has paved the way and provided new opportunities for women and girls with disabilities to fully benefit from the National Disability Strategic Plan. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
The Second Secretary of Australian Embassy in Cambodia, Connor Floyd, stated that raising awareness about gender equality for the field of disability is important to address the barriers that the men and women with disabilities face in accessing services and consider options to be taken in order to reduce these barriers. He believes that through a better understanding of gender equality and disability will enable governments as well as other relevant sectors to find ways to contribute in improving the status of individuals and groups, so that when all persons with disabilities can participate and benefit from social activities without facing discrimination. He said eliminating discrimination and promoting the rights of women and persons with disability is not responsibility of any government agency, but our collective role and responsibility. Gender equality entitles equal enjoyment as well as equal value placed on both women and men in society, where all are given the same opportunities, resources and rewards. Speaking at the opening ceremony for the training course on self-interface of gender, disability and response services to improve access to services for members in the Gender Mainstream Working Group of Ministry of Social Affairs on Monday morning, Secretary of State Amjan Makara said the Ministry of Social Affairs, as well as General Secretariat of the Disability Action Council, are strongly committed to ensuring that all women and girls, especially women and girls with disabilities, have equal rights, opportunities, equality and protection, and that their voices are uplifted and included in the decision-making process. He said, the Royal Government of Cambodia has launched a National Strategic Plan on Disability 2019 to 2023, ensuring gender equality for women and girls with disabilities with a clear vision of importance of gender equality for empowerment of women and disabilities and an effective way to achieve sustainable and environmental development.
ចឹងហើយមកខ្ញុំលើកបាញ់មិញនេះថានៅពេលដែលគេនិយាយអំពី gender សម្រាប់ស្ត្រីឬកុមារីដែលមានពិការភាពនឹងសូមឲ្យមានការគិតបញ្ចូលអំពីបរិសុទ្ធឬមួយក៏ស្ត្រីដែលមានពិការភាពផងអញ្ចឹងជាទូទៅគឺអ្វីដែលជាការអំពាវនាវរបស់ខ្ញុំគឺពង្រឹងនៅសមត្ថភាពទោះបីជាស្ត្រីឬកុមារីដែលមានពិការភាពក្តីសូមឲ្យពង្រឹងសមត្ថភាពរបស់ខ្លួនឯងដើម្បីធ្វើការប្រកួតប្រជែងជាមួយនឹងអ្នកដែលមិនមានពិការភាពហើយគេធ្វើអីបានយើងត្រូវធ្វើនឹងឲ្យបានដូចគ្នាដើម្បីធ្វើយ៉ាងណាឲ្យសិទ្ធិខ្លាយជាការពិត
During his speech, the Secretary of State further highlighted the efforts of the head of the royal government, Prime Minister Hun Sen, in the fight against COVID-19, as well as the provision of various social assistance measures to the poor and vulnerable, including persons with disabilities. He added that in the context of the COVID-19, it has been crucial that action is to be taken so the difficult process made by gender equality over the past few decades would not be diminished by the negative effects by the pandemic. He also clarified that the term gender equality does not only refer to the promotion of women, but critically to the equality between women and men, which mean that no one sex should be promoted above another. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
The Minister of Tourism, Thong Khon, has said that on the occasion of the 3-day Khmer New Year, as well as the Sunday right after, from the 14th to the 17th of April 2022, more than 5.17 million tourists, including 5.14 million locals and over 35,000 domestic foreigners, travel across Cambodia. The province of Battambang recorded the highest number of tourists. The EAC News reporter Dashana Gochin has more.
According to a report by the Ministry of Tourism, the main tourist destinations during the Khmer New Year were Battambang, Kampong Cham, Banti Minche, and Siem Reap. Battambang recorded over 650,000 visitors. Kampong Cham recorded over 470,000 visitors, while Banti Minche and Siem Reap recorded upwards of 470,000 and 450,000 tourists, respectively. Minister Thong Khon has said that the total of more than 5 million tourists recorded over the 4 days between 14th to 17th April is the highest number counted since the royal government announced the closure of the 20th February community transmission event in December 2021. To compare, the International New Year on 1st of January garnered about 2 million tourists, while the Lunar New Year garnered about 940,000 visitors. The minister added that this large influx of tourists has created a lot of economic benefits for the country, both across the nation and within specific locales. Boutique hotels, guest houses, and other accommodation services, which reopened across all provinces in Cambodia, were able to receive almost 100% bookings. Meanwhile, restaurants and eateries also saw a high volume of visitors during the holiday, which is a very different situation from when the COVID-19 crisis was more severe. He added that the main factors that contributed to people being able to travel and go out and enjoy this holiday this year was the success of the national vaccination campaign and the easing of COVID-19 restrictions, which have helped to create a sense of confidence among tourists and travelers. Cambodia had suspended Khmer New Year celebrations for 2 years in 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, after the successful rollout of the national vaccination campaign, Prime Minister Hun Sen allowed the Khmer New Year celebrations for 2022 to resume. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Ministry of Health is reportedly monitoring cases of COVID-19 following the end of the Khmer New Year on the 16th of April 2022. EAC News reporter Dashana Gochin has the details.
Ministry of Health spokesperson Au Van Dien has told EAC News that there had not been any large-scale COVID-19 outbreaks during the course of the Khmer New Year celebrations. However, now that the holiday has come to an end, she said that the ministry will closely monitor the situation to make sure no outbreaks occur, waiting to assess the outcomes for at least 2 more weeks. I cannot say yet, she said, because the celebrations just ended. If there is something wrong, we do not know yet. We will know in a little while. The Khmer New Year was held from 14th to 16th April this year in 2022. According to the Ministry of Tourism, more than 5.1 million tourists traveled across Cambodia for this national holiday, the highest number recorded since the royal government announced the closure of the 20th February community transmission event in December 2021. The Minister of Tourism, Thong Khon, said that the factors that have allowed people to go on vacation for holiday this year include the success of the national vaccination campaign and the easing of COVID-19 restrictions, giving tourists and citizens the confidence to travel. This includes the option to not wear masks while engaging in the Khmer New Year celebrations. On 17th April 2022, one day after the end of the Khmer New Year, Cambodia recorded 16 new cases of COVID-19, all of the Omicron variant, and none of which were imported. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The spokesman of the National Police, Chai Kum Kun, has told EAC News that over the 3-day Khmer New Year holiday, there were 38 traffic accidents recorded across the country, causing 27 deaths and 80 injuries. The National Police General Commission reports that the main causes of the traffic accidents included reckless speeding, breaking traffic laws, and driving under the influence. It should also be noted that during the 3-day Khmer New Year holiday and the following Sunday over the weekend from the 14th to the 17th of April, a total of 5,175,754 tourists traveled across the country, including 5,140,495 locals and 35,259 domestic foreigners. Cambodia has reported 16 new COVID-19 cases, none of which were imported. There have been 20 patient recoveries and no new deaths. The kingdom has now recorded 15,635 cases of Omicron, 1,355 imported, and 14,280 community cases. Cambodia's COVID-19 case tally has now climbed to 136,076. The death toll stands at 3,055. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 132,789, and the tally for imported cases has climbed to 21,212. Healthcare workers are currently treating a total of 155 patients. Now for a look at news making international headlines this Monday, 18th of April. Thousands of people gathered in Tokyo on Saturday to protest against Japan's nuclear policy, including its plan to release treated water from the crippled nuclear power plant into the ocean. 11 years after one of the world's worst nuclear disasters, residents in Fukushima continue to face challenges from the aftermath. Over 2,000 people gathered on Saturday to protest against the action by the Japanese government and the Tokyo Electric Company, the latter facing more than 30 lawsuits after lives were devastated by the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant accident. The contaminated soil is kept at more than 800 temporary locations in 6 municipalities in Fukushima Prefecture. The government's plan to release treated water from the crippled nuclear power plant into the ocean has spurred strong protest, including among the international communities. People are not convinced by the government explanation that it is running out of options and water to be released presents no harm to the sea life. We do not trust the government's action. We will never allow the flushing of polluted water without the locals' permission, Chairman of the Association of Landowners in Fukushima. The Japanese government sought the endorsement of the International Atomic Energy Agency, but the public still worries that adequate measures have not been taken. I totally disapprove. The IAEA is an organization that promotes nuclear power. We feel a sense of crisis that the IAEA is deeply involved in the policies related to the reconstruction of Fukushima and the Fukushima nuclear accident, said Sayoko Uno, a protester from Fukushima. The IAEA task force is scheduled to visit Japan again and conduct more reviews shortly. But many Japanese are asking for a third party, including local scientists, to inspect the treated water. The Daiichi nuclear plant had its key cooling functions knocked out after being battered by a massive earthquake-triggered tsunami in 2011, resulting in the worst nuclear crisis since Chernobyl in 1986.
Russian troops on Saturday shot down a Ukrainian military transport plane near Odessa, which was carrying weapons supplied by Western countries, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashnikov told a news briefing on Saturday that the Russian Air Force shot down a Ukrainian military transport plane near Odessa. The plane was used to transport a large amount of weapons supplied by Western countries to Ukraine. Russian Foreign Minister spokesman Maria Zakharova said on Friday that the Russian Foreign Ministry has sent a diplomatic note to all countries, including the United States, regarding the aiming Ukraine. Early on Thursday, the Washington Post reported that Russia sent a formal diplomatic note to the US government early this week and warned of unpredictable consequences if the US and NATO continue to send arms to Ukraine. According to a CNN report with the White House official on Saturday, the latest batch of US military aid package for Ukraine is worth $800 million has begun arriving in Ukraine, including military helicopters, howitzers, launches and drones. This latest shipment has brought the total amount of the US military assistance to Ukraine up to more than $3 billion.
And Tunisia will work with other countries that have offered to help to prevent environmental damage after a merchant ship carrying up to 1,000 tons of oil sank in Tunisian waters, the Defense Ministry said on Sunday. The ship was heading from Equatorial Guinea to Malta when it sank 7 miles off the coast of the southern city of Gabes on Friday. The Tunisian Navy rescued all 7 crew members following a distress call. Officials have said the ship was carrying between 750 and 1,000 tons of fuel. The Defense Ministry did not name the countries that have offered to help, but local media has said Italy was expected to send a naval vessel specialized in dealing with marine disasters. I want to confirm that there are no leaks and that the doors of the ship are safe. They are tightly closed and there is not even a leakage of the gasoil fuel material that represents the shipment, Tunisian Transport Minister Rabi Majidi told reporters. A specialized marine diving team has begun working around the ship to check for any oil leakage. If the leakage occurs on the Sea of Gabes and Ganoche, we will not have anything left, as we already only have a little part of the sea left to live on, said fisherman Hajed Salami. On Saturday, Tunisian authorities opened an investigation into the ship's sinking, which the Environment Ministry said was caused by bad weather. The coast of Gabes has suffered major pollution for years, with environmental organizations saying industrial plants in the area have been dumping waste directly into the sea.
Rescuers searched for dozens of people still missing in South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal province on Sunday, 17th of April, after floods and mudslides killed 443 people.
The floods have left thousands of homeless, knocked out power and water services and distributed operations of one of Africa's busiest ports, Durban. A provincial economic official estimated an overall infrastructure damage of more than 10 billion rand, or $684.6 million. The province premier, Sheila Zikalala, said the death toll had risen to 443, with a further 63 people unaccounted for. In some of the worst affected areas, residents said they were terrified by the thought of more rain, which was forecast to fall on Sunday. Some face an agonising wait for the news of missing loved ones. We haven't lost hope, although we are constantly worried as the days continue, Simbongoli Majolka, a resident of Sunshine Village in the Tekawini municipality, whose 8-year-old nephew had been missing for days. We are traumatised by the sight of rain, Wajoka, 47, told Reuters, adding that her home had been badly damaged. In a nearby semi-rural area, 3 members of Siberia family were killed when the walls of the room where they slept collapsed and a 4-year-old Bongeka Siberia is still missing. Everything is harsh, reminder of what we've lost, and not being able to find in devastating because we can't grieve or heal. At this stage, we are left feeling empty, Lethwi Siberia, 33, told reporters. President Cyril Ramaphosa's office said late on Saturday he had delayed a work visit to Saudi Arabia to focus on the disaster. Ramaphosa will meet cabinet ministers to assess the response to the crisis.
Residents of Mariupol walked past the bodies of civilians as they evacuated their destroyed homes on Sunday, 17th of April, as Moscow said its forces had almost completely seized the port town. Ukrainian soldiers resisted the Russian ultimatum to lay down arms in Mariupol, and Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said the city had not been entirely taken by Russian forces. The city still has not fallen, he told ABC's This Week program, adding that Ukrainian soldiers continue to control some parts of the southeastern Ukrainian city. A reporter asked a resident, Irina, if the army was evacuating them. Irina saying, "Yes, we came to get out our stuff. Gnats tried to break in, looked like they failed, so we can get at least some of our stuff. We left our apartment very wearing winter clothes. This was all we got. Mariupol resident Irina saying, "My mother is not ambulatory. My father is recovering after his second surgery. I don't know what we are going to do. I have a daughter in DNR," self-proclaimed Donetsk People Republic. "Maybe we will try to move there for the time being. I hope they will rebuild Mariupol. The most important thing is to restore utility systems. Summer will pass fast, and in winter it will be hard. She is wounded, got under shelling when she was entering our house. The child had got injured, her leg and head." Russia said on Saturday, 16th April, it had control of urban areas, with some Ukrainian fighters remaining in Azovstal steelworks overlooking the Sea of Azov. Capturing Mariupol, the main port in the Donbas region, would be a strategic prize for Russia, connecting territory held by pro-Russian separatists in the east with the Crimea region that Moscow annexed in 2014. Citizens of the pulverized port fled their smashed and burned home, driven away by Russian-backed troops, leaving behind the bodies of citizens killed in the conflict. About 4 million Ukrainians have fled the countries. Cities have been shattered and thousands have died since the start of the invasion on February 24th. Russia said Ukraine had lost more than 4,000 soldiers in Mariupol as of Saturday. Kyiv said its total troop losses nationwide so far in the war are less than that, between 2,500 and 3,000. Reuters has not been able to verify either side's figures. French security forces briefly fired tear gas in Paris as opponents of the far-right marched in the capital on Saturday, 16th of April. Then the demonstrators resumed their protest minutes later.
Thousands of anti-far-right protesters marched across France on Saturday as opponents of presidential candidate Marine Le Pen seek to form a united front to prevent her from winning an election runoff against incumbent Emmanuel Macron on April 24th. Police have warned of possible incidents as demonstrators convene in some 30 cities. Macron, a pro-European Union centrist, won the presidency in 2017 after easily beating Le Pen when voters rallied behind him in the runoff to keep her far-right party out of power. This year, the first round of voting last Sunday set up the same battle, but Macron is facing a much tougher challenge. "The far right is a risk to our country," he told supporters overlooking the Mediterranean port city, which put far-left candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon first on April 10th. "Don't heckle them, beat them," he said. Prior to the first round of the election, Le Pen successfully tapped into anger over the cost of living and a perception that Macron is disconnected from everyday hardships. That saw her finish with 23.1% of votes compared to 27.85% for Macron. However, she has appeared more rattled this week, as the focus has turned to her manifesto and opinion polls have shown Macron extends his lead. A poll on Saturday showed the president winning the runoff with 55.5% of votes.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favourite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Tyler Wright of Australia and Brazil Felipe Toledo won the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach in Victoria, Australia on Sunday 17th of April, the fourth stop on the World Surf League 2022 Championship Tour. After the previous runner-up finishes at the event, it was the first win at the iconic Bells Beach for both surfers who adapted best to the move for the finals to a different beach nearby because of a strong offshore wind. In clean but dropping surf, two-time WSL champion Wright claimed her 15th championship tour in her defeat of Clarice Moore of the United States. Wright was the form surfer of the event, posting excellent scores throughout. In the men's final, Toledo came up against 2022 CT rookie Callum Robson of Australia, who was on an impressive run of form, but he was no match for the Brazilian, who takes the top spot on the world rankings ahead of next week's Margaret River Pro, an event where he is defending champion.
You know, I cannot put into words just yet what this means. It's been a long 4 years. There's been multiple times where I've just wanted to give up, and it's just not worth putting in the effort to get back to this sort of form. And you know, I've worked so hard to be here, and I'm just so beyond grateful to have the support that I have had, and the love and the care as well. So yeah, it is more than a win. It's the only event that I've ever really wanted to win, and here I am, and I'm pretty over the moon, and I'm beyond stoked.
Dutchman Dylan van Baarle won the Paris-Roubaix Monument Classic on Sunday, April 17, to give the Ineos Grenadiers team their most prestigious victory in a one-day race.
Van Baarle, who was second in the Tour of Flanders 2 weeks ago, went solo 19 km from the finish line on the key cobbled sector to prevail a record average speed of 45.79 km per hour. Belgium's Wout van Aert, Jumbo-Visma, back to a competitive race after 2 weeks off due to COVID-19, took second place 1 minute 47 seconds behind after outsprinting Swiss Stefan Kurg in a Robax Vanderdrome. Favourite Mathieu van der Poel was never really in the mix and finished a disappointing ninth, more than 2 minutes behind the country art, first Dutch rider to win Paris-Roubaix Nicky Trespeser in 2014. Ineos Grenadiers blew up the race with 210 km to go, splitting the bunch in crosswinds and leaving the likes of Van Aert and Van der Poel chasing. Van Baarle caught up with the leading trio of Slovenia's Maciej Mohek, Belgium's Jens Lampert and Tom Deverdick with 25 kilometres to go. He waited for this moment 6 kilometres further down the road to accelerate on the cobbled sector of Camplin de Pevel, and only Moharic and Lambert seemed to be able to follow. They soon dropped back with Lambert crashing out with 7 kilometres left following sight contact with a spectator. The slight contact with the spectator. Van Baarle shook his head in disbelief as he hit the wooden boards of the velodrome for the last 750 metres before coasting to victory. I could not believe it when I went into the velodrome. I looked on the other side and I see if there were other guys, but I was completely alone, Van Baarle, his face covered in a mix of sweat and dust, said after the 257.2 kilometre effort.
Yeah, when the DS car came next to me with Servas, that
Now let's have a look at the weather and what you can expect for tomorrow. And finally, this past Sunday, people around the world celebrated Easter in full swing after 2 years of COVID-19 pandemic. Christians around the world celebrate Easter with many participating in their own egg hunts, which are often made of chocolate or colorfully decorated shells. But each country also has its own little traditions.
Citizens in Horhausen, a small town in western Germany, created their own tradition by staging an egg-throwing contest and hurling brightly colored hard-boiled eggs into a meadow. Distance is a factor, but the egg must be unbroken to count as a valid throw, explained Mayor Thomas Schmidt, who welcomed the return of the event. The Horhausen egg-throwing competition has reached its 34th anniversary this year. The Easter Parade, which dates back to the 1870s, returned to New York City this year, with participants decked out in hats and costumes filling the streets of Manhattan to mark Easter Sunday. Traditionally, participants would dress in the latest fashion trends, and the event was noted for its ostentatious display of wealth and beauty, Newsweek reported. With about 300 attendees, the Cordao do Boitata has become one of the city's most traditional block parties or blocos, with carnival revelers and samba musicians turning downtown into a massive Easter street party. Revelers donned colorful costumes depicting nuns, devils, and superheroes. "It's a joy to hug people, to be in the streets. It feels like coming alive," said Nija Vivek, who participated in the block party. Locals also carried around a big snake figure representing the fantastic creature called Boitata. According to Brazilian mythology, the huge fire serpent attacks those who harm the Amazon. Although Brazil has become globally famous for its glitzy samba drum parades, traditional partying happens on the streets. Rio de Janeiro's government banned street carnivals this year, but also said that there won't be controls. Humans weren't the only ones to celebrate Easter. Lemurs, lions, and rhinos also celebrated by eating colorful eggs filled with fruit or meat, continuing a ritual that has been performed for more than 10 years at Chile's Buin Zoo, even despite the pandemic. Brightly colored eggs painted in animal-friendly paint were hidden around in the sand and grass, and bags filled with treats were fixed onto trees.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check our website eacnews.asia or search EAC News on Telegram, Smart TV, or at your favorite app store. More from EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We will see you then.